Millions of people lost their jobs last year as a result of the pandemic. And according to the international charity Oxfam, women were much more likely to be laid off than men, suffering more than $800 billion in lost income in 2020. That's a result of long-standing economic inequalities that'll now be much harder to address.
This conservative estimate doesn't even include wages lost by the millions of women working in the informal economy, domestic workers, market vendors and garment workers who have been sent home or whose hours and wages have been drastically cut.
Let's get more on this now with gender equality consultant Dr. Julie Scanlon. She joins us now from Newcastle in the UK. Good to have you back with us, Doctor. Now, that Oxfam headline figure, $800 billion in lost income, more than the combined GDP of 98 countries, apparently. It really is quite startling and shocking. Why are women disproportionately worse off in terms of job security, particularly during the pandemic?
Thank you, Oscar. It's good to be back again. I think the pandemic has exacerbated the inequalities that were already existing. And so it's broadened the fault lines, if you like, so that women were already in more fragile work, less likely to be paid well, less likely to be receiving support that they needed around their childcare and so forth, which has meant that the disproportionate impact on women that we're seeing now in relation to men has simply been a result of everything becoming kind of exploding, I suppose, because of the pandemic, and the impact has just been huge in relation to the diverse gender population.
Now, in the past, you and I have spoken about the issue of the pay gap between men and women, and the fact that some estimates suggest that it might take a couple of centuries in order to fix that problem. How do we fix this problem of women being in sectors that offer insecure work?
I think there needs to be a recognition of the disparity of both the kind of occupations that women are in and also the impact of the pandemic as we see it now. And there needs to be a recognition from policymakers, support agencies, kind of nationally and internationally, and we are seeing some happening, that there is this huge gender disparity. And so the support that's required and the economic recovery policies that we need to be introducing and implementing, they need to take account that people are not being impacted on an equal basis, and therefore there needs to be some form of accountability for that in any kind of plans for recovery.
So which countries are doing it right in terms of enacting laws that do address gender when they come up with these bills and proposals?
There's been a wonderful response so far in one county in Hawaii that has come up with a feminist recovery plan, and the other counties in Hawaii are considering it at the moment, but it's been ratified by one particular County, Woe County. I'm probably mispronouncing that for any Hawaiians. I apologise on this show. But and what they've done, so it's called a feminist recovery, economic recovery plan as from COVID, and they are doing extraordinary things, have promised extraordinary things, such as providing childcare, for example, for all key workers. They are going to be providing specific programs and projects to support women back into the workplace and to explore and research the kind of particular impact on women as well. They're also going to be providing a basic income for all people, which is, an extraordinary kind of proposal, really, and just very supportive in a very supportive way. And they're also creating an emergency fund that people can draw on. In Canada, for example, as well, they have put together a support plan, a feminist support plan for their international work, as how they are going to help other countries and sort of developing countries and low-income countries around this. So it's interesting to me, they're both using that word feminist in their plans, and it's taking account of the fact, as I've mentioned, that the COVID pandemic has not impacted people equally in terms of gender, and therefore we need to redress that balance, and we need to really look at what's happened with women and find ways to support them as the globe really attempts to recover from this pandemic as we move forward.
And in the US, President Joe Biden has announced a proposal, a $1.8 trillion proposal to help things like paid maternity leave or paid parental leave, as well as childcare. How badly or how important are those two things in terms of helping women stay in the workforce?
I think that they're incredibly important because we know that women are still doing the disproportionate amount of childcare, and that they are being, they're overrepresented, if you like, in the sort of the home work, the housework that comes as well. And I think that being able to support women to stay in the workplace is huge. I really welcome Joe Biden's sort of policies that he has put in place very recently. There was a report that came out from McKinsey last year, which was a big Women in the Workplace report looking at corporate workers in America. And they showed that the COVID pandemic was impacting on women in the workplace, in that 1 in 4 of those women in the corporate world were now considering leaving work or downshifting their work because of all of the pressures of the sort of double whammy, if you like, of the COVID pandemic requiring them to look after either children or elder care much more, and to also try to maintain their profession and their roles. So that was an enormous difference from previous years when McKinsey have done that same Women in the Workplace report. And it was disproportionate, the number of women that were thinking of leaving or thought they might have to leave, with the number of men who thought that they might leave. And that hadn't changed over the results of the pandemic. So I think that the things that are being implemented by Joe Biden should be an enormous support for women being able to stay in the workplace.
Okay, Dr. Julie Scanlon, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you so much again for joining us on the program.